what's up, everybody? It's your boy, Coach T with Chicago Bears 360, back with another live recording for you, live show for you. Listen, we got a hot one for you today. My man, Nicholas Moreano, is on the show from CHGO, man. Nick's a great guy. Had a chance to link up with him at the Senior Bowl and talk a little bit of football, a little schematics, man. I've always admired Nick for putting in that work, man. So we're going to get a chance to talk a little bit Bears football, of course, on the heels of the coordinator's press conference today, and Nick's coming fresh off of that. So plenty to talk about. Y'all know what's next, man. We're going to tap into it. Do me a favor as you come in. Run those likes up. Like, subscribe, share if you're watching on the playback. Y'all know what it is, man. It's Chicago Bears 360 with Coach T. Let's go. Contra.
Life like chess, move to pieces, you know I roll in silence. On the road to them Benjis, I fill my teeth with diamonds. I'm high as fuck in the sky, you would've thought I'm pilot. I'm from Chicago, it get ugly, fill the streets with violence. Life like chess, move to pieces, you know I roll in silence.
Past, present, future. We bear down.
And just like that, we're back, Bears fans. I got my guy, Nicholas Moreano, in the building. Listen, I don't have to do an introduction, man. Everybody already know who you are, where to find you, all that good stuff, man. But you know what I'm saying? What's going on, Nick? We're going to jump right into it.
Oh, man. Hey, too kind, Coach T. You're too kind. But, you know, you highlighted early on that we linked up in Mobile, Alabama. It was great just getting sit next to you, watch some players, talk football. Good times. And I don't know if you can, you can't really see it here, but I was rocking my hat backwards throughout the 3 practice days. I have a nasty tan here that I'm still trying to even out as, you know, now we're back in the Chicagoland area and it's a little colder over here. There's not as much sun, but happy to be here to talk some Bears football.
Hey, man, Mobile was real nice. By the way, you know what I'm saying? I don't see a tan line, but we know the hair is on point. The hair is like, you know what I'm saying? The hair, you know what I'm saying? It's infamous. It's almost like a trademark or something. You know what I'm saying? I know the guys were teasing you on the show while we were there at Mobile. People don't know when you shot that video, I was sitting right next to you when you were doing the show, so it was funny. You had a little extra guest to crash your video at the time. It was funny, man.
We did. That's what makes it fun. I mean, you never know what's gonna happen down in Mobile, Alabama for the Senior Bowl. So that was fun. And speaking of hair and stuff, I mean, we're going to talk about these coordinator press conferences, but we see Eberflus's new look. I feel like a lot of people are like digging the new Eberflus. Look at the beard. He's got the fade going. New Flus, new year, new season, man.
You know what? I was going to go in on it, but you know what I'm saying? It has to be some before and after kind of meme that goes along with that. I think a few of those are already out there, but yeah, definitely. You know what I'm saying? That if he goes with that look during the season, we win it all. I'm just saying, we win it all. You know, going off the grid with the beard, man, that was crazy. Yeah, good catch right there, man. So you're fresh off Hallis Hall. What was the vibes in the building and all that good stuff? You know, introducing the new coordinators. Shane Waldron and Eric Washington.
Yeah, so I mean, it was good to be back. It's been a while since the media has been allowed at Hallis Hall, and you know, finally getting to talk to these coordinators that were hired a little bit ago. And you know, Eric Washington. Well, after Eberflus spoke, Eric Washington, you know, kicked things off there, and you know, I think he's as advertised. I would say, you know, over 16 years of NFL coaching experience, it showed in how he answered the questions, knowing what his role is for this Bears defense. Even though he won't be calling the defensive plays, that'll still be Eberflus's job. He's still going to have his fingerprints are going to be all over this Bears defense. And, you know, he right off the bat, he was asked about the defensive line. And he said, you know, we're going to make this the best pass rush unit in football. So he's having these high expectations, knows what this Bears defense did in 2023. And, you know, I think just has some high expectations overall for what he can add to this defense to complement Eberflus and already the defensive coaches that are in place. And of course, they're going to add more defenders and things like that. But Eric Washington, I liked how, again, he presented himself very confident. And even though he's not calling plays, if he's asked to do so, he was saying like, hey, if Eberflus has to, just give those responsibilities, even if it's just for a snap on a snap, or, even if it's temporarily, he'll be ready. He's called plays before. So I like the confidence that he exuded in his opening press conference.
Absolutely. Very, very, the soft skills were there. They're very, very head coach-ish. You can tell he's been doing the work. He's preparing for that opportunity, that shot from a presentation standpoint. But to your point, like made a lot of good points about, the responsibility he's going to take on with this Bears team. And although he's not calling plays, the ability to put his thumbprint on his defense as a former defensive line coach, right? And I'm excited about that. I'm excited about the fact that Eberflus, they come out. Usually, this group is a little bit coy with the information, so them coming out and saying that I'm holding on to the play calling as a defensive coordinator is a positive for Chicago Bears fans, because it's all about continuity, I believe, with this new staff. I think that's going to be one of the catchphrases with the new staff: continuity across the board, not just on the defensive side, but the players are familiar with Matt Eberflus's, play calling. It took him time to ramp up to that after taking over from Alan Williams. So why hand it off right now if you don't have to, right? Go into the season, get a feel for your new coaches. Let the players get a feel for the new coaches, and then maybe do like a soft handoff at some time during the season. Or if he's around for a year or two, you can hand off those responsibilities in. But I thought it was a very good, very good press conference, and I think we got the right people in the building, right? And I also like the part that, Eric comes off as one of those people that, when you walk into a room full of men, those dudes in the room gonna listen. They're gonna chest up, chin out. They're gonna chin down. They're gonna pay attention when he has to say something, and it's gonna resonate in that room. I don't know if that was necessarily there before, but I feel confident that we got a different level of presence in the room. With this guy.
That's a really good way of putting it, because look, with Alan Williams, obviously in his situation, but Eric Washington, he does bring a different kind of persona, that presence you were mentioning. And I think a lot of players will respect that. He also comes from an organization that, has been in the playoffs, is still playing when January rolls around. So there is that element to it as well. And to go back to your point about, the play calling, like Eric Washington was all in favor of Matt Eberflus still calling plays. He called him an unbelievable play caller, an outstanding play caller. And you really did see the effect that this Bears defense, what it had once Eberflus started calling plays, and then the addition of Montez Sweat. So to me, it's just a really nice addition for Matt Eberflus, because he didn't have that luxury last season after Alan Williams was relieved of his duties. He had to take on all of that, and everybody else had to take on more weight. Well, Eric Washington, he knows a thing or two about defensive football. Like you said, has the expertise in the defensive line. So I'm really looking forward to watching guys like Trevon Dexter, Zach Pickens, who are going into year 2, and seeing how, Eric Washington with also Travis Smith can just complement each other to get those guys playing at a more elite level, so that Montez Sweat's not the only guy really contributing to the pass rush game. Because if you could do that with this Bears secondary and how it's shaping up, man, you have a defense that there's no reason why they shouldn't be one of the top units in the NFL in 2024. So I'm really looking forward to seeing just the overall effect that Eric Washington will have on the Bears defense.
Absolutely. And I think it was also poignant that he pointed out that we plan to get there with 4. Like it's no secret. We getting off the bus. We coming with 4. We're not blitzing unless we absolutely have to. And, in this day and age in the NFL, a lot of talk about, changing and the mobility of quarterbacks and stuff like that. But again, it's the being forthright with information, whether it works or not. I think we appreciate knowing what the plan of attack is. Certainly gives us something to talk about in the media, right? But I think that was a very revealing part of the interview as well. But I want to pause real fast because I know we're getting into it real fast. And you guys don't understand, man. I have to put my I don't know. I don't own the stamp, but listen, I know so social media, DIY media, Bears media, we all have our little niche, right? And then you get to do, like, there's entertainment debate shows and there's schematic shows. And depending on the format that you kind of employ your level of a kind of entertainment, you get to display certain skill sets. I want the audience to know that me and Nick we spoke at the Senior Bowl for a while about schematics. Nick knows ball, and I'm not surprised to say that. I already knew that, but I don't think that the format necessarily that you guys use mainly on CHGO, because when you talk schematics, it's a more long format, and you got to do more kind of teaching and explaining. But I want to let the audience know that I was appreciative of the conversation, us talking ball. Listen, y'all, I'm putting the stamp of approval on it. Nick knows ball. I just want to let y'all know. Don't you know what I'm saying? Don't let him fool y'all. He knows, and I appreciate that, because you're quite often at the practices and you're seeing a lot of these, the exchange and the concepts, just techniques and things that they're practicing on, and knowing that we have somebody on the ground that they know what they're looking at. You know what I'm saying? So
I appreciate that, man. And you know what, this season too, I'm going to make that more of an emphasis on my part to really bring more of those X's and O's in a different format. It might not be on the podcast, but shorter videos, and really asking the players more of that insight, because look, I do have that inside access to Hallis Hall. There's a lot of very, very smart people, a lot of people that know a lot more football than I do. And so when I was thinking about like how I want to, elevate my game for the 2024 season, that's where it's going to be. So once the 2024 season starts rolling on, you'll definitely expect more of that. But Coach D, I can listen to you literally talk ball all day. So if we have to sit in the sun and this sunburn needs to get even worse, I am perfectly fine with that, because just listening to you, it made, we were watching guys practice, which we both enjoy and love, but to have that extra side, that extra conversation on the side too. I mean, that's what Mobile's all about.
I was getting on your nerve commentating the practice for you.
No, keep in one ear, I'm here, and then I'm watching the play. I'm like, yep, I agree with you. I agree.
Yeah, man, it's good times. Always love to be around ball, man. Practices, you know what I'm saying? It's not so much the game, man. I wish I could take, fans, not just, people don't realize it doesn't have to be pro ball, just taking you aside the experience. The preparation is what you fall in love with. You know what I'm saying? Starting on Sunday or Monday, whatever level you're at, the preparation, coming in day one, breaking down film, knowing how we're, figuring out how we're going to attack the opponent, and then going through that regiment that we watched during the week at Mobile. Day one, you saw the guys with the call sheet. You saw them going through their call sheet, Xing off plays on their practice scripts. You know what I'm saying? It's the preparation part is a part that fans don't get to see and don't get to appreciate as much. But it was fun to sit there and kind of commentate, and talk through that process and like point out little nuances, like, hey, you see that with the call sheet, is the play sheet. They're going through the plays. They're trying to figure out what's going to work on game day, what's not. It's all cool, man. I always get excited about that stuff. Listen, we got to go there. We got to get into it. All of my clips from the press conference were about Shane Waldron, right? And so, I've said on the show many a times, my first indicator, my first tea leaf, if you will, about the decision about, what they're going to do with Justin Fields had to do with the offensive line, them keeping Chris Morgan and Coach Dre as part of that offensive line staff, because the interior offensive linemen usually go with the offensive line coach, and the tackles and tight ends usually go with the tight ends coach, and that's how they practice. So it was critical to me that they kept those two guys, because it was the first clue to me as to what they would do moving forward. And one of the first questions that comes up in the press conference had to do with you know, how they're going to communicate. So let's take a look and we'll come back and talk about it.
How do you go about planning an offense, though, at this point when you don't know? Or maybe you do, but like, at least right now, quarterback could be a couple different.
There you go. No, I think, as far as planning the offense, the first part for us was building a staff, getting everyone together. And then, you have staffs. We've worked together with different people in the past. People have had different experiences. But the first part of that is really speaking our language. What's the 2024 Bears going to look like in terms of how we're calling certain coverages? How are we calling routes? What concepts do we want to, have as part of our core offense when we start OTAs and we start with that building block approach as teachers. So that's the first part of it. And to me, having a system that's speaking the same language, that's multiple in its ways that it can attack a defense, then you start to get the players and you start to know what your personnel is going to look like for that season. And then you build it around the player's skill set. And I think, for me, that's been a part of my core beliefs, and I feel like it's worked out well with the different quarterbacks that I've had a chance to be around over the past several years.
So, Nick, what did you think about Shane Waldron coming out and expressing himself and really, kind of confirmed some things for me? Really, it's all about the language, right? It's all about keeping, again, that term we used earlier, continuity, right? So with Simo staying, with Dre staying, now I get to maintain a lot of the communication, calls, schemes, fronts, like all that stuff remains the same. Now we can hit the ground running. What do you think about kind of what he kind of tried to communicate there, communicated during the presser?
Yeah, and I think it was important because I think Shane Waldron coming into this press conference, obviously he was coached up, right, by the Bears. Like, hey, let's not show our hand in any way. And it came across like that. I thought he was a little, I don't know if timid's the right word, but he was very reserved. He was very reserved in how he wanted to answer certain things. But that was, I think, a key indicator too. And I wrote that as like this offensive system, regardless if you want to keep Justin Fields or move on to a rookie quarterback, he believes that his system will be able to take on regardless of whoever's playing at quarterback. But the language, I think, is important because, you have players that are already a part of this system and they don't necessarily have to have that learning curve that they would have if it was a completely different type of offense. So I think that just accelerates the process, right, of how these players will adjust to Shane Waldron, his play calling. They'll have to, like you said, be all on the same page in terms of that language, but then it's really about building around the skill set. And I think that's super, super important when you're thinking about this team, because the weapons that he has in Chicago are not the same guys that he had in Seattle. You have DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, Jackson Smith-Njigba, Noah Fant. There's different skill sets over there than what are currently here in Chicago. So if you bring in the core system, get those languages down, and then you look at your talent, you'll be able to adapt to what Chicago currently has. So I did enjoy that answer from Shane Waldron and just being, I think, as honest as he could be given the circumstances that he was in. Because like I said, when Eric Washington spoke first, super confident, knew exactly what he was saying. He knew his role. Shane Waldron goes next. It's like, okay, let me not cross that fine line of saying too much.
He's measuring everything.
Exactly.
Yeah. I think one of the giveaways too for me, again, the promotion of Simo to run game coordinator. I mean, that's a big deal. Like as a coach, that's a big deal. Again, the philosophy, the run game, the tenets of the Kyle Shanahan, because that's Simo's pedigree. Kyle Shanahan, Sean McVay, all those guys, that's the pedigree. So he gets to establish and put his thumbprint on this run game as the run game coordinator. It solidifies his position, but also, again, the run calls, the run checks, the pass pro calls, right? The slot, what are you calling, scat protection, right, left, the naming of stuff, and also giving the language to the running backs. Hey, running backs, we're calling this protection this. All this, and I've said this on the show, all this belongs to Simo. So to me, the only thing that needs to happen now is Shane comes in and slaps his pass concepts on top of that, the language for the pass concepts, the concepts, and really they're off to the races. Now, if I'm a GM, I'm gonna lead the witness right here. I'm a You know what I'm saying? I'm practicing a little Perry Mason right here. If I'm a GM, and I'm just saying, I'm a GM and I was a former offensive lineman, and my partner was a former awesome. And I was planning to keep the incumbent quarterback, and I wanted to create the shortest path from learning curve from here to there. I'm just saying, I would probably keep the offensive line coach to the tight ends coach, and make it the shortest path to keeping the guy. That's the theory I'm going with. It's very logical to me. Pick it apart. Go for it. I don't mind.
Yeah, no, Coach T. I mean, we were talking about this in Mobile, and I mean, it makes a lot of sense. I think ideally too, if like all signs are pointing to Justin Fields returning here for his fourth season, they also probably keep Luke Getsy and Andrew Dinoco, but that wasn't the case. They moved on from them, but it was a key component in keeping Chris Morgan. Now him getting his title upgrade here. The thing is, with this system, like it does fit. I think it'll fit perfectly with what Justin Fields' skill sets are. It also, you look at it, it probably will fit too with what maybe a guy like Caleb Williams will like to run. He'll just have. I think there's going to be some obviously learning curves that he'll have to adjust to, but it keeps you guessing, and I think that's what the Bears ultimately want at this point in time on February 22nd. Like, that's why Shane Waldron's not saying too much. That's why, you do have Kevin Warren going in support of Justin Fields, and even Justin Fields on the St. Brown's podcast. Like, he just wants to know what the situation is so he can start getting into his film work. But it's all a guessing game. I think, honestly, look, we're about a week away from the combine. Right. And that's where, a lot of information is being, spread, being heard, and being, just articulated within each NFL organization. So that's where we're going to probably get an even better indication of what the Bears are truly thinking they're going to do. I've always been a Justin Fields guy. I've always wanted to see him succeed. And I think regardless if he's in Chicago next season or somewhere else, you're going to see him succeed. Yeah. I do believe that. But yeah, it's again, still the guessing game. And I think we are getting closer, though, to knowing exactly the move that Ryan Poles is going to make at the quarterback position.
Yeah, and that's the rumor that's out there. One of the things that was floated that, we would know something during the course or soon after the draft. And, Bears fans probably, along with Justin, want to know sooner than later, too. But it also, you kind of segue into one of the questions I want to ask you anyway about, the media game and how this being played. Before we get too far into the Justin Caleb debate, by the way, I'm having fun myself connecting the dots as a former coach of the logic of O-line coach, system, the things that they're doing with the coaches that point to me. It helps my biases a little bit. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, I do recognize that this system is it's flexible enough, and it would be a good system. Again, it would be a good system to bring Caleb Williams into, train him into, so he gets off to a solid start in the NFL. That would be, it's a longer learning curve than had he gone and going to, being with Cliff Kingsbury, but it's still a quarterback friendly system. Mm-hmm. Because it allows him to, this is what they're going to see. This is what they're going to give you. They're going to give you a lot of, according to a source, a lot of mid zone, a lot of inside zone, boot action off of the mid zone and inside zone. That allows Caleb Williams to use his skill set. Listen, it's the skill set of both of these quarterbacks as far as mobility and that stuff. It's not like it's a canyon in between them, right? It's kind of, Caleb does some things well that Justin doesn't. But as somebody that's in the building, involved with the media game, so to speak, air quotes, right? This is the question I want to ask you, probably more than anyone, right? Is the media, are the Bears and or the media, are they short squeezing this thing as far as the whole draft capital thing and playing the whole Caleb situation. Like, it seems like to me, it's not that obvious that we're getting or the Bears are going to draft Caleb Williams. Yet it seems like, you know what I'm saying, a lot of the larger platforms are all in on Caleb Williams. And it's like, okay, I understand you might not necessarily want to be on the outs with the Chicago Bears. So play along with the team. You know what I'm saying? Go along with the team and let's short squeeze it, because I toyed with the idea myself. Let me troll everybody. I'm a short squeeze. I'm saying, yeah. Caleb's the greatest. Like, come on, like, let us in on it. What's going on there? Give us the secret sauce.
Yeah, to be completely honest, I don't know if there is a secret sauce, but what I think it all ultimately comes down to is that, looking at the Bears situation last season, having that number 1 overall pick and being in a position where they wanted to see where Fields could go with another season with some more weapons around him and more established offensive line, they did that. And now being in that situation again, it just seems so logical that for the Bears to have that number 1 overall pick and there be a prospect like Caleb Williams, it's like, you know what? How can they pass up on that opportunity again and not seeing? I think everyone's anticipating maybe a bigger jump from Fields in this year 3. I know I was, but his circumstances didn't really allow him to flourish in the way that I still think he can flourish. So I think that's what it ultimately comes down to, is that when you're hearing guys like maybe Albert Breer or just some of the big name guys that always have some kind of insight at this time of the year, you're putting the logical steps in place. Well, okay, you can reset the quarterback clock. You can draft a guy like Caleb Williams. He's in a pretty good situation coming into a team that just won 7 games, but also has an ascending defense, DJ Moore. And then you have Justin Fields, unfortunately, at this point in time, hasn't proven, or to some people hasn't proven, that he can be that guy. So I think a lot of people are just kind of putting those things together and coming up with the conclusion that it's a foregone conclusion. The Bears are drafting Caleb Williams. That's what it's going to be. And, I just think the more people I've talked to, the more people that I've been around. And look, I was in Frisco, Texas for the Shrine Bowl. Then we were both at the Senior Bowl. Then I was in Vegas. And it's a lot of people in the NFL world. They all are just coming to this conclusion that Caleb Williams is the Bears quarterback already. It's, again, February 22nd, Caleb Williams is already going to be the Bears quarterback. But, I think Ryan Poles, Ian Cunningham, this Bears staff, they need to get to know Caleb Williams. That is a huge, and I get it, maybe people are going to, look the other way at this, but they need to get to know Caleb. That is such a huge part in their evaluation of players, to see if he's going to mesh well with, the locker room that they do have. And I can tell you this, despite this team winning 10 total games in 2 seasons, this locker room stayed together. There was never a rift. There were never guys who were combative. The only one kind of was maybe a Chase Claypool. He didn't last long. Right. So they want to make sure that everybody who at the very top, from quarterback all the way to the last practice squad player, they coincide with this culture that is established. And, it seems like, I think there have been a lot of reports on Caleb that I think are a little overblown. So I once they get to know him, I think he ultimately will fit what they're looking for, but he is a little different. He has a brand. He thinks of things outside of football, and that's okay to have, but that's what I ultimately think it is. And again, I don't know if there's a secret sauce to it, but that's ultimately like you put everything together.
I was thinking it was like media sauce. It's like, you know what I'm saying? Like, did everybody get a memo that I'm not privy to that says, hey, by the way, as part of the Bears' ultimate plan, we're saying we love Caleb Williams again to put the short squeeze on. Listen, I do a little in the stock market is where I'm kind of alluding to, right? So we're gonna pull a GameStop on them, and we're gonna do the short squeeze with Washington. We're gonna run the price up. You do that through the media. Like it's a known strategy in the business world. You want, you know what I'm saying? You want to stock the cave. You float a story out there. The stock caves, you buy it low, you sell it high. Like we all get rich and walk away, right? So in the back of my mind, I'm like, bro, it's not that obvious that it's Caleb, guys. Like, are you guys serious? Are you going that hard? Like, so hard. But to your point, though, I haven't been much of a, he paints his nails. I think I mentioned the fact that, the crying in the stands thing bothered me only from a coach's standpoint, because to me, you have on an NFL roster, you have 52 other teammates. They all lost that game too. I don't know what it is in college, but they all lost that game. And to me, that was a selfish moment. Now, I don't get into the fingernail painting, dress wearing, all that other stuff. I don't care about that stuff. So I really don't discuss it. But when it comes to football and team and all that other stuff, like, you're the leader of men, disappointing moment, all those dudes are in there hurting. All those dudes are going through it, right? So this is the time for you to be, the consoler, if you will. And I did have a problem with that part, but all the other stuff, fingernail painting and dress wearing, like, I know I have thoughts about it, but not enough to commentate on it, like on the show and make a take off of it. That's not our brand here at Chicago Bears 360. We're about schematics and football. So, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's weird. It's weird to me. I prefer not to do it. Back to Shane Waldron, though. This is what I will say about him that I really like. And I hope people picked up on it, even though I felt like he was being very measured and calculated with not, as to not say something that give away, the Bears' intentions. I thought the part that he kind of kept, repeating to, the media, to us, the fans, the media, is about his level of emotional intelligence, right? And his connection with the people, right? As the player as a person. And that's a repeated theme that I heard in my conversation with Kerry Joseph at Mobile, right? He was very intentional about he told a story about what it really took to get Geno Smith to be the player that over the last 2 years. And he talked about, basically, it had nothing to do with football. It's about connecting with him as a person, seeing where he was and how, what made him tick, and basically bringing him along a kind of, I don't want to call it a mental healing journey, but basically taking him from where he was mentally and reminding him of who he really was. And that was like one of the key factors. So what did you think about that part of him kind of emphasizing that? Like, hey, man, we're going to get to the football stuff later, but I need the leadership part of it. I need to know these dudes. So when we get in the heart of battle, when I got to say something hard to you, we know it's not personal. It's just, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, Coach T, I think that really echoes what a lot of these Bears coaches really emphasize as one of the main priorities before they ever get to the X and O's. Like Kerry Joseph, he spoke to the media at Mobile, and that was one of the first things that he mentioned about Geno Smith having the resurgence, he had to get to know the person before he can go and fix or, help him on the football field. Shane Waldron says that. Eberflus is very big into those things as well. And I think that allows the players to trust the coaches on a human level that's not football related, so that when they do get on the football field, they know exactly who this person is, and not just, giving the player a specific call, a specific route, specific concept. Like, they know exactly who they're working with. And I think, like, you can honestly, all of us can't relate to what an NFL football player, what it's like doing that. But we can all relate to the relationships we have with people we work with or people that we're around, and how having a stronger relationship ultimately makes everybody better, right? So I think that is a huge component of why this Bears team was able to stick with each other through a 3-win season. Why they were able to stick with each other after, some fourth quarter losses. When you think of Detroit, Denver, these games that, you know, after those games, there could have been a lot of teams that went the other direction. The Bears stuck together. So I do think that it does start with that. And right now there is no football being played. So all they can really work on once they're allowed to kind of really communicate with each other is the relationships. Hey, get to know them, get to know your family, get to know the kids, the wife, everything.
Right.
And I think that's super important to building a good culture, but also a football team that will be able to kind of go through the ups and downs of a football season. It happens to everybody. Doesn't matter, you know, Kansas City Chiefs.
It's a life thing, right? Yeah.
It's life. It's a life thing. But just looking at the Chiefs, they had so many ups and downs before they reached the mountaintop of winning a Super Bowl. But it starts with establishing those connections. And the Bears do have the right people in place, I believe, as a coaching staff to make sure those connections are resonated through every single one of those players on the roster.
Yeah, I think it's a great culture fit for what Coach Eberflus has already established with that locker room that you mentioned earlier, right? That locker room is tight. You know what I'm saying? People might not want to acknowledge it. You know what I'm saying? That's like I don't care what level it's on. The football locker room is a sacred place. It's a sacred place. That place is tight. I think they were very intentional with the rebuild because people didn't understand, well, we let Roquan go, we let this player go, we let that player go. I think they were really intentional about building the culture in the locker room that way. Because if you believe Justin Fields was the guy a little bit, I understand that the leadership techniques, the leadership strategy is I have to set the situation where this guy's voice is the loudest one in this room. You know what I'm saying? It's either his audible voice or his work ethic, his presence is the loudest in this room. If I have Roquan Smith right there, you know, Roquan Smith, all pro Roquan Smith, or you know, who was I got? The pastor Khalil Mack, the veteran Khalil Mack. You know, he was there before, the OG. If he's the loudest voice in the room, and if it's not the quarterback, sometimes, you know, that's where the fray and the friction might come from, because, you know what I'm saying, you have competing messages, if you will. So again, it goes back to our, you know, what we said about Caleb Williams. It's going to be a integration. It's going to be a different type of integration coming into this environment. If we do go with Caleb Williams to say, hey, you know, it's going to be, and that's a challenge for it. I never thought about it this way, but it's going to be a challenge because now you got Jalen Johnson. Let's talk about the personalities in that locker room right now. Like, I'm talking about the audible vocal personalities.
Jaquan Brisker is very vocal. He's gonna speak a lot. Jalen Johnson, you mentioned. You know, Tremaine Edmonds, I think he's definitely going to speak when he goes up to a podium and stuff, but I think a lot of players look and respect what he has to say. Offensively, like DJ's a little bit more on the quieter side, but he's a more lead by example. Look what I do. Everyone's going to follow that. You know, Justin, obviously. We're thinking about, I think when you look at the offensive line, Tevin would be somebody that a lot of guys respect and how he approaches his craft. DeMarcus Walker as well. And then
that's who I was thinking of. DeMarcus Walker is very vocal. You can, you know what I'm saying, see that while you're at the games, from the sidelines or wherever. And where I'm going with that is you want your quarterback to be, I'm not saying it can't be done. It hasn't been done. But you want your quarterback to be the loudest voice in that room. You want his voice to ring loudest, and it's a different path than having the guy already established as the leader and saying, okay, just go lead, be yourself, go lead, work hard. First of all, lead by example, and then they'll follow you. Versus, you know, you don't get that immediate sign off when you're the rookie coming in. You know, hey, Rook, you got to carry bags just like everybody else. So with that said, aligning with what you said about Caleb Williams and them getting to know him, because if they see something, the culture they built already that doesn't align, How does that go? Like, if they get there at the combine, you're talking to him, and you know, he's like, "Hey, look, you know, hey, I'm the man." However it goes, you know what I'm saying? I
Mhm.
don't care, but like getting
Yeah,
into the psychology of it all, like,
I mean, I would think it would have to be something so major. Again, I don't have an example of what that might be, but they come out of this press their interview process like I don't know if I don't think that guy's gonna fit at all. Like
right,
he's super talented, but like he is a individual and not
right,
wanting to be a part of the team. He wants all the attention. But I think there are a lot of times too, and it's different at the quarterback position though, that you can make exceptions, but I mean, like that, they do have a culture in place. They do
right.
value those things. And
In the simplest form, in its simplest form, can you be one of the guys? Initially,
Mhm.
you know what I'm saying? Listen, you're not gonna get tagged as, you might get a C on your chest, you know what I'm saying, for show, but you're not gonna really get that sign off until like year two anyway. But when you first come in, can you be one of the guys? Like, you know what I'm saying? Do you come in and you're you know what I'm saying, a demigod? And I'm not trying to, you know what I'm saying, cast aspersions on them. I just want to, like, I want to take the fans and let them know it's not Madden. Like, you don't just
Yeah.
switch this player out for this. There's human dynamics at play here, and you have to think about that stuff. If you're a coach, if you're a GM, you have to go into that and say, hold on a second. On paper, it might work. Just like with any free agent. What's the possibilities?
Yeah, no doubt about it. And look, that Justin Fields is the most well-respected player in that Bears locker room. There's no doubt about it. Anybody you talk to only has glowing things to say about Justin Fields, and it's because of how he approaches, the day-to-day and first person in there, last person out, working with some of the receivers after practice. Like we get into the locker room sometimes, Coach T, and we don't ever see like Justin or DJ or Tyler because they're out there working. Like they
Right.
are constantly working. And, for Caleb, that is just one. If he were to be drafted number one overall and the Bears were to trade Justin, like it would take time. It would take time for him to earn the respect from all those guys.
Mhm.
Because, those guys really do value what Justin Fields brings and adds to the locker room. Again, just on the St. Browns Bros podcast, like you see how he jokes, how he like talking about Bayless, talking about Ty, like he has connections with these guys. So there is a human element to this. Like that should
Right.
not be overlooked. And, it's just about what he can do on the field. Like there is a human element to this. Ryan Poles really likes Justin Fields. Matt Eberflus really likes Justin Fields. And it's a part of their overall process of how they're going to come to this ultimate conclusion that is a very big one, a very important one. So I think for Justin or for Caleb, like the best way to is to be open, but also when it comes on Sundays or whenever the Bears end up playing games, like if you win games too, that's also going to help in the transition process if there is one. But I think that it is something that they have to factor into this. There's no way that you make this big decision
Unilateral
without
decision, yeah.
without getting all these factors in place and putting them all into your ultimate decision making process.
Let me ask you this: you get offered a first for Justin. What are you doing?
Ooh, Coach T, I think as much as I like Justin, a first round draft pick, I'd probably do it. I definitely do it because I liked what I've seen from Caleb Williams on film, and if he's just not a bad person, like I think he's gonna mesh.
No, I
And I
mean
think this.
I think that for me that was like the scenario. Like, okay, because it's not again, it's not about. It's all these factors, not just about the quarterback's
Mhm.
ability to play the position. It's the human element, but also for a lot of people, their whole siding with Justin has nothing to do with necessarily, oh, you demoed this, right? To me, the potential haul has always been the thing, right? I don't want the Bears to just go to a Super Bowl. I want the Bears to go to multiple Super Bowls. I want
Mhm.
us to be the next dynasty. I want us to be the next Kansas City Chiefs. So I think, the trade back, not just this year, I think we need another one. I don't want us to do the Detroit Lions. I think the Detroit Lions swung too soon, and they're going to be in this like perpetual state of purgatory, playoff purgatory, and then potentially slide back to who they were, because we all know, you know what I'm saying? It's the playoff. You lost, you drunk the next year, like resting on last year's morals. So I want us to be there year in and year out. So, but also with that said, the first for Justin still kind of puts us in a competitive scenario to be competitive year in and year out. I'm sure it would accompany more than just that. It'll be a first or 4 first and 5th, something like that. I think now we're having a conversation. Now it's real. You know what I'm saying? Like, so you're not making me feel bad, Nick, to say, Coach D, I don't know. I'm with you on that. Like, a first in something, we got to talk. A first in a player, first in something, we got to have a conversation. Now, conversely, to be fair, if somebody comes in and start talking about, hey, I'm giving you a established starter plus 2 firsts or 3 firsts for Caleb Williams.
See, and that would, I mean, now you're building like the roster that you're seeing in San Francisco, where they just have all pros. I think they have 4 first-team all pros just on offense. And we haven't even gotten to defense. That's building a team. And ultimately, that is one of the biggest factors, too, in this whole decision-making process with the quarterback. What's going to lead you to sustained success? Not just success in 2024, sustained success. Because Coach D, we don't know what that looks like on a Bears team.
Right.
We just don't. Sustained success. And look, Ryan Poles comes from an organization in the Kansas City Chiefs that now is having that. We can almost count on the Kansas City Chiefs to make a playoff run, a Super Bowl run every single year.
I already got plenty of gray. I'm trying to have so much success that we're at the Senior Bowl when Nick has gray. Talking about Bears team that's winning.
That's too funny, Coach T, because I actually found my first gray hair here the other day. I'm like, oh, it's happening. It's already happening, but
it's over. Yeah. When it sprung on me when I got out in the military, I didn't even know they were already there because we have to shave every day, right? I didn't know. So the first day out, I was like, yeah, I get to grow a beard now, and I didn't get the chance to experience the, you know what I'm saying, the black dark hair phase. I went straight to gray. So it's been a thing since I was like 30, man. It's like trash, man.
Happens just like that, man. Happens just like that.
What did you think about Kevin Warren's presser? A lot of conversation about that. Felt like this is where the whole are the Bears hedging their bets? Are they short squeezing using the media came from? Because that week was like media weirdness to me. What did you think about his presser and him just basically lavishing Justin Fields with praise and all that other stuff?
Yeah, I mean, and Jared Payton did a great job with that press conference there with JP is awesome. No, I mean for Kevin Warren, he's the ultimate businessman, right? I mean, he knows how to build stadiums. That's what he does. But I don't think he did. Look, he said what he felt. That's, being around Justin Fields and obviously being around him when he was a Big Ten commissioner and Justin was at Ohio State. He saw the leadership there when he tried to, keep football going when football was going to be no more during COVID, and then getting to be around him when he was on the Bears. So I don't think he said those things with the intention of like, hey, I want to raise up the stock for Justin or the support of Justin. I think he was just truly speaking how he felt about him. Now, is there maybe some strategy to it? Potentially, but Kevin Warren, I mean, I feel like his stance on Fields hasn't changed since he got here. If you could have asked him this question at the end of the 2023 season and prior to it starting, and that answer would have been very similar. So that's how I feel like he's, approaching it. But again, he is a smart man. He knows the game. And if he had a little bit of that in his, answers, it wouldn't surprise me, but I don't think that's how he wanted it to come across. He was asked the question, and, again, it just speaks to everybody who's talked about Justin Fields, how they kind of speak about the quarterback.
Yeah. So I'm back in my natural media progression of questions now. So with his office being so close to Ryan Poles, what's the level of influence there? And then also, what is Ryan going through right now? What is Ryan dealing with? Because bro, you're in the, it's a cool thing for Bear. I think Bears fans are looking at it. This whole we gotten a little bit toxic with it, but if you really take a step back and look at it, we're at the center of the football universe right now. Like, all eyes on Chicago, Ryan Poles, Justin Fields, Caleb Williams, the Bears overall. Like, how is Warren's mentality influencing Ryan Poles? And then from there, we'll get into what do you think, Ryan Poles, not so much what he'll do, but what is his approach to it? And then what needs do you think we have out there left?
Yeah, so the influence on Ryan from Kevin, I mean, I think those guys they're pretty in lockstep. I remember when just at the end of the year press conference, when Kevin Warren was speaking, Ryan Poles was off to the side. And, he was just obviously we're all focused in listening what Kevin Warren is saying, but Ryan Poles is too. Like, he's soaking in every single word, doing a couple little head nods there after Kevin is speaking. So I think they have a great working relationship, and ultimately they have the same goal in mind, going back to that sustained success. So I think when we're talking about the influence, I just think that overall they mesh well together. They know exactly what the next step is. There's no discrepancy of how they're going to get there. It's like we're working collaboratively to get to whatever, point A, point B, point C. So I really do think that they do have a good working relationship, and you need to have that when you are, like we were just talking about, the center outside of the Kansas City Chiefs winning the Super Bowl. Like, the Bears are the center of the NFL universe right now, what they're going to do at number one. So you need to have that, that working relationship, that good working relationship, to make things happen. But I just think that for Kevin Warren, like, I wonder too, like, everything going on with the stadium, how much that's impacting him on the overall involvement he still maybe wants to have or needs to have in, like, some of the football operations. Because I know it shouldn't be ultimately his final decision, because that should be Ryan. But there are things that too he also has to think about, because that stadium needs to get built, and I'm waiting for it to get built here in Arlington Heights, where I'm at. So there's also a lot of other big decisions that the Bears need to make.
Yeah, I think having Kevin there for a sounding board, right? Because they have their own individual challenges, but I don't think Ryan hesitates to use Kevin as a sounding board, right? But what I like to see and what I hate to see published in the media, or just coming from the ground up or wherever it comes from, is the people implying there's division there. I've never seen or heard, any type of division there. Let's skip past the quarterback, because we already discussed that in nauseam. What do you think? What other positions do you think Ryan needs to go after to complete this roster? I had a conversation with Herb Howard. He was on the show. What was that, last Thursday? Seemed like it was eons ago. There you go. You get to follow up your buddy Herb Howard there.
I love Herb Howard. We were actually sitting next to each other in the press conference there. Awesome person. Obviously knows everything you need to know about football. Needs, like, for me, it starts with establishing and finding a reliable center, like, regardless if it's Justin Fields, if it is Caleb Williams, Drake May, whoever you want to put there as a signal caller. Like, you need to have a center, and you need to have a dude at center. I don't think you can't get away with having a Lucas Patrick or even a Cody Whitehair when he had to snap there. Like, you need to have a good center that's going to complement and help out the offense as opposed to being the weak link of it. Looking defensively too, and someone opposite of Montez Sweat, I think still needs to be here because, teams can, if they don't have that really threat on the opposite side, like you can devote a little bit more attention to Montez Sweat. And there are times where he still beat that, but it would be nice to have somebody that can win their own one-on-ones, that can complement what Montez Sweat does so well. And, hopefully that will also help the interior guys do what they need to do. So you look at, another edge rusher, and the Bears absolutely need to get another playmaker on the outside. We did on the CHGO Bears podcast a couple days ago, like going through the touchdowns outside of DJ Moore, the last Bears wide receiver score a touchdown was Chase Claypool in week 2. Like that's an insane, crazy stat, but it just kind of highlights that there still needs to be somebody else because you have Tyler Scott going into year 2. You hopefully continues to progress and become a more polished wide receiver. Velus Jones Jr. has a very niche role in how he's being utilized right now. Maybe Shane Waldron has some different ideas for him, but you do just want somebody else opposite of DJ Moore where teams do have to worry about. It's not just DJ. So I look at that as well with Eddie Jackson being released, somebody that will, work well with Jaquan Brisker. I know we got a chance to see Kinchins, Cameron Kinchins from I've been watching more and more film from him, and he doesn't just have the range. Like he comes down and makes form tackles. It's instinctual, fight through a wide receiver. He's making the process through the catch. Like I see him and I see Jaquan Brisker, and I get like, I light up with what this Bears secondary can look like. So safety is another one that I look at. And, if Ryan Poles thinks that he could still add another guy in the interior defensive line, because right now Justin Jones isn't signed under contract. Like I wouldn't be opposed to that either, because I think you could still, upgrade and just add depth, because they like to go in the waves in terms of how they deploy their defensive linemen. So yes, like there are still some holes that need to be filled on this Bears roster. And say if you trade the number 1 overall pick, that does help you to fill a lot more of those holes.
It helps a little. It helps a little bit. You know what I'm saying? It helps a little bit. No, I a conversation with Herb, we had a disagreement. Herb thought we were about 4 or 5 players away. I think I tweeted out we're about 8 to 10 players away. Again, my goals might be a little bit different. Herb thinks we can make a Super Bowl run next year. You know what I'm saying? I think 20, what is that? What would that be? 24, 25, 25, 26 is our year, 2 years from now. I say a mid to deep playoff run next year, not too deep as to we get satisfied, but enough to leave us hungry, right? First and second round exit. And then you take your final swing and get what you need. Speaking of centers, did film breakdown on 3 of probably the hottest names out there at center and coming out of college. Actually, Zach Frazier was my top guy. I just like the dude. Plays with leverage, former wrestler. He's a dog, heavy hands, great feet, great hips. Then was JPJ. I actually had JPJ second. I want to see how JPJ does with his combine strength test. I really would want to know what his 315 numbers are, not necessarily 225 numbers. Because to me, I don't see the heavy hands, and usually for me, you know what I'm saying, light hands mean lacking physical upper body strength, right? The last guy was Van Pran, right? And not because he was that far behind JPJ, but because he was stronger in the run game and his technique kind of broke down in the pass game a little bit. But I agree with you. Definitely playmakers at wide receiver. Definitely a safety. Definitely an edge rusher. I want a dog. Now, here's the crazy part. I might be a little bit different. Before we get an edge rusher, I'd rather have a game record at the interior to crush the pocket from the inside. And then I would be okay with having an okay guy, but I want a game record from the interior because, that's the new wave right now. Everybody's getting the Bears don't really use our interior defensive linemen like that, like traditional 1 and 3 techniques, but everybody's collapsing the pocket from the inside and going with that. Now, I do believe our style of play affected who the second leading wide receiver in terms of catches was. One, the offense was what it was. But also because our offensive line woes, we got to go a lot of 12 and 13 personnel.
Yeah.
So you don't have a whole lot of wide receivers on the field when you got to go 12 and 13 personnel. So, you know what I'm saying, your numbers go down. So I think it was reasons behind that. But I do believe Shane is going to come in with a much improved offensive line, unlock some of these other guys and use them in unique ways. The question is, and this is going to be a tight one now, what do you do at left tackle? Because to me, it's a question. For me, the whole offensive line, by the way, my center take is this. I'd rather get a free agent because I don't want any question marks up front. It has to be all exclamation marks, center, guards, tackles going into next year. But I'm concerned about both center. Unless we get a veteran, I'm concerned about center, but a little bit concerned about tackle. What do we do there? Because Braxton's continuously trending up, but you know what I'm saying? He hasn't played terrible, but it's like,
yeah, he's played. He hasn't played terrible
either. So
yeah. Exactly. Like Braxton, it's like we were just mentioning. He hasn't played terrible. He's actually gotten better. Yeah. But he hasn't played at an elite level where you can't just like move on from him. He hasn't given the Bears that kind of decision ultimately. And let's say the Bears in this upcoming draft, they do take Caleb at 1, and at 9, you have all 3 of the wide receivers go off the board. You have what, 3 or 4 quarterbacks go. By the time you get there, you don't have Neighbors, you don't have Adunze, you don't obviously have Marvin Harrison Jr., and Joe Alt is right there at 9. Like, do you make that decision? And I think that's a tough one. And I mean, because I think that obviously adding a Joe Alt you're getting a premium player at left tackle, but also Braxton Jones is like we just talked about, he's getting better.
Yeah,
it's a fascinating conversation. And look, you have 2 former offensive linemen in Ryan Poles and Ian Cunningham, knowing how much value that position has. Yeah. So it'll be interesting.
And they have they've invested a lot in Braxton. One, they took a chance on him. Simo's already going back to the human part of it, right? They as 2 former offensive linemen invested a lot in him. Simo's invested a lot into him. He's made him into a starting left tackle. He's taken some of those raw skills and develop them. I just want a guy to get in the weight room, do some more squats, deadlifts, and power cleans, and we're off to the races. But for the other part for me is, and I haven't done the complete breakdown yet from what I've seen, and it usually doesn't take me long with offensive linemen, especially tackles, is the gap between Alt, Fashanu, hopefully I didn't butcher that name, and Braxton. It has to be a tremendous gap. It has to be, they're so much better than him. I have to take him. Otherwise, I continue to develop and say, all right, he'll be by mid-season, he'll be a sure exclamation mark and we can go play ball. But for me, the uncompromisable for me is the offensive line this year. It can't be any question marks at all. We have to be able to play ball, whether you draft Caleb or you keep Justin. Justin can't afford, you know what I'm saying? Like, we can't afford to be on the run this year. So listen, Nick, we made it through pretty much my little crazy puzzle of questions, right? I usually start from the top down or the bottom up, but we had this press conference today that kind of threw my whole interviewing system for a loop, but we made it through it. So what we're going to do next real fast, we're going to jump to the DM section, answer a few questions. But Nick, here's a staple for the show. I'm going to put you in a hot seat. Now, everybody is a guest of the show had an opportunity to do this, so you're not first person. Shout out to Greg. Greg was the first viral Drunk Uncle Award one recipient, and then he gave it out. Herb gave it out last week. So I want you to think about your Drunk Uncle Award. Who you want to give the Drunk Uncle Award while we're asking some of these questions? in the DM section. Y'all know what's next. We slide into the DMs. We trying to figure out what y'all talking about in the chat. Let's
Did you get like some crazy DMs or what?
Very.
Surprises or no?
It's talking like blue check marks.
Yeah, like
People who be sliding, and I'm like, wow, y'all fuck with me like that.
Yeah, y'all rock with us like this. It's your boy Coach T with Chicago Bears 360. And Nick, how you pronounce your last name for real, Nick? I don't want to butcher it. Did I get it right?
You're right. Moreano.
Moreano. Shout out to me, man. I'm on. You know what I'm saying? See, this is what happened. This is what happened when you're raised in the South. But you know what I'm saying? Your parents decide to take you out of a great football school and send you from Georgia to Northwest Indiana and put you in Catholic school. And you have to change your whole football system. You can tell I'm not bitter. Anyway,
Not at all.
it's crazy because I transferred from the school my sophomore year that Jahmyr Gibbs went to, Dalton High School in Dalton, Georgia, and I moved back to my birth city, Gary, and I went to Andrean High School. So any of y'all from Gary, Maryville, Miller, then y'all know about Andrean High School, man. Shout out to the 59ers, by the way. The 59ers on 5959 Broadway, Miller, Indiana. Shout out to y'all, man. I got to give it. State champions, man. What up, Yada? Man, what are questions for Nick, man? What questions y'all got for Nick in here? Hey, we got the usual suspects. You see, Nick, listen, I got some loyalists in here in the chat. I'm trying to see where's the question at. Let's see. Vizo is a new person in chat. Coach T of Polls said you have to take the emotion out of it and do what's best for the team. Yeah, absolutely. You absolutely have to do what's best for the team. I don't think we would disagree with that, but what we're acknowledging is there's a human element to the locker room, the leadership, and from the standpoint that we're acknowledging is you have to acknowledge the fact that, listen, just because, you know what I'm saying, just because I might be great on paper, you don't necessarily assume if you put me in the cubicle next to Nick that we're going to get along. We're going to jive. You know what I'm saying? You can't assume that. So, I mean, I've dealt with this in corporate, right? I have to hire a team member. Sometimes I invite people on my team in to sit in on interviews to get a feel for, all right, we've done the resume interview. Hey, can you sit in the interview and get a feel for this person, his personality, to make sure he's going to jive with the team? Because I've spent time developing this team. I can't have anybody coming in and blowing up my chemistry. That's the part that we're hitting on there right there. So
yeah, absolutely. I mean, you said it perfectly there. It's Poles knows that he's going to do whatever is best for the team, but it's not like it's an easy decision, right? There, right. Like you said, there's a human element to it, but ultimately, whatever he does, it's in the best interest of the Chicago Bears, how they're going to be put in a position to have sustained success. And that's how, I think successful organizations are run, because if you run off just some pure emotions, yeah, it's probably just not the best approach for any business, let alone a football team.
Yeah, man. Listen, I'm not seeing a whole lot of questions in the chat, but shout out to everybody. Chat. Shout out to the 360ers burning it up in the chat, man. Loyal followers of the channel, man. Y'all know we try to keep these hot interviews going, man. So shout out to Nick for joining us. Take a time out of his busy schedule on the beat and at CHGO. And what did you, bro? You've been busy. You're at the Senior Bowl.
Shrine Bowl,
the
Vegas for the Super Bowl.
You did Super Bowl week, didn't you?
Yeah, that was long. That was crazy. A lot of just how it works. It's like you have a setup, and then hey, there's Matt Ryan, Greg, or myself. Let's go grab him. Like, let's go talk to. Like, it's just a bunch. It's very spontaneous and it's fun, but also there's just a lot of work involved. But yeah, it's been a constant grind.
I saw when Greg, I read Greg's article he wrote about, Super Bowl media role, whatever they call it. I'm gonna let y'all know in secret, right? I'm gonna give you, Greg, and the whole crew and Karn a little lesson. I'm gonna tell y'all why y'all didn't get more interviews. Cause y'all ain't had no handsome brother like me up there, and then y'all gotta, you know what I'm saying, diverse, you know what I'm saying? You need a big, you know what I'm saying? Nick, you seen me, I ain't no small dude, so they can't get past me.
True.
You know what I'm saying? I got I can still pass pro a little bit. Where you going? I need you to go over there, sir, and take
Coach
this.
T, I love that.
There you go.
I love that.
The interview. See, y'all, you know what I'm
It
saying?
makes too much sense.
What did I say? What we always say about football, it always starts with the offensive line. You know what I'm saying? I'm just telling you, bro. But listen, the time is here, Nick. I ain't gonna hold you much more. I know you're a good guy. I know you're, you know what I'm saying, you're a nice guy. You keep it pretty, you know what I'm saying? You keep it pretty sane, but you know what I'm saying? You got to give out this Drunk Uncle Award, my boy. You know what I'm saying? It's a staple of the program. Hold on. But we got to introduce it right. I got to, you know, you got to do it the right way. Let's go. Drunk Uncle. Here we go.
Anything is possible, got feelings in my cup. I see everything in double, got 2 blunts, I'm rolling up. I've been walking in a circle, no expression, now I'm stuck. 34 decline, cough like Giannis chasing bucks. Anything is possible, got feelings in.
And we back just like that. Shout out to my son, man. G don't crash on the track.
That's awesome.
Listen, we actually have a media entertainment business. It's ironically enough, it's a service disabled veteran owned business, registered with the government. We have media entertainment. So we do the social media all under the business. My son does the rapping, by the way. He's dropping a record pretty soon, but we'll get to that later. Nick, man, who you giving this Drunk Uncle Award to, bro?
So, Coach T, I want to make sure. So, the Drunk Uncle, just as this can be given out to anybody, right?
It can be given out. I can get the Drunk Uncle Award. I've given it to myself for crazy tape. So it's like, hey, man, I don't know if you caught Greg's, but Greg's last one was a good one. That one was epic. So no pressure. I'm just telling you.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, Greg, he sets a high standard, but if I have to give the Drunk Uncle Award to anybody, I mean, I can just look at my colleague Mark Carmen and just some of the things he says on a daily basis, man. Like he is fun to work with. He keeps it very interesting, but some of the things like he says, I'm like, what are you talking about right now? So I think just being around him, I think he's very deserving of the Drunk Uncle Award. Sometimes I think he's my drunk uncle, but from some of the things he says, to be completely honest. But he's great to be around, and that's why he always keeps it fun and interesting, especially when it comes to the Bears. And like you said, there's some can be some toxicity sometimes, and you know he definitely likes to keep it fun, and
he likes to mix it up a little bit. Shout out to Karn, by the way. I gave Karn crap about his first day outfit in Super Bowl week. Karn, what the hell you had on? You know what I'm saying? I lived in Vegas for 4.5 years. I was stationed there in the military. Everybody knows when you go to Vegas, you got to put that ish on, at least for your first day. Like you got to put it on. You got to don your chains. You got to put on the shirt, fly shirt for at least the first day. You can't come out. You know what I'm saying? And usually Karn got it. You know what I'm saying? He puts it on. That's why I had to, you know what I'm saying? I had to show him some love on Twitter. I was like, come on, Karn. You got Greg dressed like, you know what I'm saying? Okay, after we get done with all this interviewing, we finna go hit the crap tables. We're gonna hit a little blackjack, and we finna do Vegas how you do Vegas. And then Karm had to, I don't know, he had the Bill Belichick starter kit on or something. I don't know what he was working with. But shout out to my guy Nick. I didn't expect that one. So shout out to Karm, you know what I'm saying? The Drunk Uncle Award of the day, courtesy of your fellow CHGOer, man. But Nick, listen, man, I appreciate you stopping by, jumping on the show, man. Listen, I'm gonna tell you like this, real sincere, bro. I'm one of those people that I'm probably guarded naturally, man. So when I meet somebody, man, and we click and we just have a natural, you know what I'm saying, vibe or whatever, man, I appreciate it. And man, I consider myself a newbie to this game, and you kind of welcome me in Mobile and kind of point me the right direction, man. So I really appreciate all that, man, and taking care of me down there in Mobile. So You know what I'm saying? You know, we link up again, Coach T, will buy you a beer or something like that, man. So it is what it is, man. Thanks for hanging out with us, bro.
Hey, I appreciate you for having me on. I enjoyed our conversations in Mobile, Alabama. We'll have to definitely do it again. Link up, like you said, for a beer. But this has been awesome. I hope you know, I get an invite at some point later on, maybe during the season, whenever. I'm always down to talk football, but it's been
Let's
great,
do it,
and
man.
we'll definitely do it again.
Welcome back anytime. So there you have it, Bears fan. I'm your boy, Coach T. That's my man, Nicholas Moreano. For now until next time, our little, you know, hashtag. We just doing a few numbers over here at Chicago Bears 360. I think our impact is probably bigger than our numbers. Anyway, until next time, it's past, present, future. We always bear down, and we'll talk to y'all next time. Peace.